Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of The Unspun Yarn. Today, I have with me, or soon will have with me, a good friend of mine, Dan from Voice of Geekdom. He'll be arriving momentarily. He said he was going to be a little late. He got held up, but he'll be with us soon. So I want to thank you all for coming today. I'm going to be. Oh, wait. I think I think he's showing up. I think he's. Oh, there. Oh, it's a long trip. Oh, I'm so glad you can make it. I was worried. I know the weather's been not great there, not that conducive to horseback, but glad you could make it. Glad you could make it.
I'm here. uh,
And that was one of the best entrances I think I've ever seen in my life.
I was practicing this.
Well, your technique was lovely, I must say. You were sitting very very tall in the saddle, so to speak. Good job there. It looks like you've been doing it your entire life. You made it look so easy.
I have been doing this in my entire life, actually, quite honestly. Like, this has always been, before I even watched the movies, I knew about the whole coconut thing, because my parents, especially my dad, are really into Monty Python. Like, he used to quote Monty Python at me when I had no idea what it was when I was a child. So I knew all about the coconuts.
Well, that's great. So you have been like immersed in this silly little movie, all these little tidbits, little bites that
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. And Monty Python it's always been part of my life. Like, my dad used to quote the parrot scene at me when I was like 5, and I had no idea what he's talking about.
Oh, you're getting some love from the chat here. I just want to put this up there. I think Stephen is a bit jealous, but
Uh,
so and I too. I mean, the movie came out in '75, and I remember seeing it as a kid here in the States. It was like one of the first movies that I saw on when we finally got HBO, and this is back when there was just like one channel that was HBO, and that was it. There was nothing
right.
else. So it was one of the first things that I saw, and I was just like, I like this.
Was Python your introduction to British humour?
It was. I was about to say that. So that was my Americanized introduction into the British humor, and then afterwards I would, like later I would watch all the like the Flying Circus. They played it on MTV over here. So as a teenager, I was like constantly watching all these funny little skit bits.
That's
And
so funny that it was on MTV, because there's just nothing good on MTV now, is there?
no, no, and I fortunately was alive for the classic age of MTV when it was actually had videos on it and it was good. But that was my introduction. My parents loved it, and it was just humor was just a part of my shared thing that I had with them. They were nerdy. Like they liked books. My mom especially was quite a reader, and we always would watch like the sci-fi things on television. What few we were. They were Star Trek fans. Um, so I had like a nerdy parent background. So when this came out, they were like, "Oh man, we got to watch this." So besides the coconuts, which is like the first, like the movie starts playing and you just see these idiots running around in these crazy costumes, pounding coconuts together. Did you think this was going to be like a regular Arthurian movie, or did you just like get
Well, I was familiar with John Cleese from Faulty Towers before I saw this movie, I think. So I kind of knew him. So I sort of knew what kind of humor to expect a little bit. Like, I knew to expect farce and silliness and just. breaking the fourth wall a lot as well, which is something that the Pythons love to do. So I kind of knew what to expect, I think, when I was a kid watching this for the first time, especially with my dad quoting it all the time as well. The first scene that really grabs you, I think, is the constitutional peasants.
Oh yes.
Which is right at the beginning, and I think that's my favorite comedy scene of all time in any format, honestly.
It is.
Because I laugh at it every time. The dialogue is so well written.
It is, and Dennis the peasant, who's not an old man, they're just gathering some lovely filth. Oh, there's some lovely filth here, Dennis. Oh, how do you do? And you get these voices, and you realize, okay, so these are guys that are playing all of these parts, which was different for me over here. I'm a kid in the United States, blah blah blah. I don't even need to say anything else, but it's like, oh, so you're playing both? Okay, that's cool.
It comes from I think the characters thing, like the different actors each having like one main character, but then playing different parts, and also the kind of like gender bending that they do, where the men are playing women, playing female characters. It comes from the British tradition of pantomime, I think.
I was thinking Shakespeare and the Shakespearean theater, there were just men who played both parts. So it's like a long-standing British tradition. Am I correct?
Yeah, it is kind of, well, it goes back further than Britain, really, even. But yeah, I think of pantomime. I think of pantomime Aladdin and that sort of thing, like the songs and he's behind you, that whole thing. That's what I think of. I think it's from that tradition. I know pantomime's not really a thing in the States, but it's it's a family thing that you do as a kid and stuff.
Cool. So that's pretty cool. So it just brings in a lot of if you're British, you really get a lot of it.
Yeah.
And if you're American, you're like, I think that's really funny. Let me watch some more.
Yeah. But they were revolutionary, the Pythons, as well. They paved the way for sort of subsequent generations of British comedians that came through Oxford and Cambridge as well. So they paved the way for Stephen Fry and Hugh Laurie and Rowan Atkinson, who played Mr. Bean, and people like that. So, all of those guys were influenced by the Pythons. And it's gone.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, Tim Curry, he also springs to mind because I was for years, I thought, no, wasn't he part of the Python set? And I'm no, he wasn't. But he just acts in that style and that just over the top, over dramatic, way of doing things. So, I mean, one theme that we see running all the Frenchmen who show up at the beginning, it's just that's just a running theme, all through the rivalry, I guess, between the French and the British. And it was what I found really funny was, say, oh, we already have one, the Lord of the Manor already has a Grail, and the fact that the French got the Grail first or what have you is really sort of historical because they kind of were the authors of Chrétien. Oh, Aaron praised me last time for my pronunciation. Chrétien de Troyes was the French Arthur who kind of composed and compiled all of the Arthurian myths. Frenchmen. So, and they were the ones who introduced the legend of the Grail, the Holy Grail, as a quest into the story. So the fact that they got the Grail first is kind of true because they were the ones that introduced it.
We're getting quotes thrown at us from the chat here. Wheezy Squeezebox, shout out Wheezy Squeezebox.
Oh yeah, Wheezy, thanks for coming.
Says 8 score blondes between the ages of 16 and 19 and a half. I love that scene as well.
Oh yeah, that would be the scene with Sir Gal. Okay. The scene is called the Oral.
So Galahad the Chaste.
Yes. This is the scene, the Oral Sex, or Sir Galahad faces peril valiantly as part of the script. That was the name of it. So that's the Oral Sex, SEX. TS. So carry on. Yes.
It's funny. I was watching a documentary to prep for this as well about the pythons, and there was an issue with hot water at their hotel while they were filming this. They filmed at like one castle and like the surrounding countryside because they were banned from like filming in or around any of the castles that they originally planned to do so in Scotland. So the National Trust here in the UK basically said they didn't want such a silly movie to take these historical places and bring them into sort of disrepute, they put it. So they found a private castle that they could film at, and
they did all the cast.
There was only one hotel in the area that they could stay at, so they was all staying at the same hotel. The cast, the crew, everybody. So then eventually the Pythons found another hotel that was a little bit further away, and they moved in there, and then the actresses from the Virgin scene that we were just talking about were staying there too, and they all came in like exactly like that moment in the movie. And in the documentary, there's a bit where Michael Palin's was like, and it's like, yes, exactly like in the movie. So it's like that actually happened off camera, kind of. I mean,
oh my God, that is so funny. Oh, hello. The scene with the swallows, that's like the first one where we had the coconut scene. That is, I think, probably the most quoted of I would think of any of the Python quips. We'll just call them for the rest of the for the stream of the Python quips. It's African or European. It's just rolls off. Anybody, what the swallows, and that was like in school, that all the kids, even like kids in grade school where I was, middle school or what have you, there was like the group of nerdy kids. We've all watched the movie and we were back and forth with these little lines. So it would just like sometimes in like biology or whatever, like a question would come up and an animal would be mentioned, whether it be a swallow or not. But there was this one kid who would always ask whether it was African or European. And I was in the back. I was always just dying. I'm like, oh my God, he did it again. So it just kind of got to be a running gag for us. So
I love the sort of like Arthurian dialogue as well. Like the swallow may fly south with the sun, or the house martin, or the plumber may seek warmer climes in winter. Yet these are not strangers to our land.
Are you saying that coconuts are migratory now? I do. I love that they do use that when Arthur's giving all of his like glorious speeches or what have you. He's this inspired person, and he talks with such flowery language and
Graham Chapman really sort of delivers a sort of presence, doesn't he, that the others don't have.
He really does.
Kind of feel like they found their leading man with this film, because of course he goes on to play Brian as well,
right?
And he's just he kind of delivers the scenes with a gravitas that the rest of them just don't kind of have. But I mean, they all do have their kind of like unique kind of like way of delivering their lines, but he just works as a main character more. So
and I love the interaction that he has with Bedivere throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
That's like his boon companion, his constant sidekick. He sticks with him the entire. I mean, they're just constantly just like playing off of each other during these scenes. Like they're the enlightened members of the party. They know all of these scientific things.
Well, Arthur, of course, is sort of the straight man of the whole thing in a way. It's almost a rule in British comedy that you have to either have like one straight man and like everybody else is silly, or the other way around. So you have Mr. Bean where he's silly and he's interacting with the real world, or you have, it's kind of, I don't know. I think of it as a British humor thing, but I don't know whether I'm right about that.
No, but it does seem to be very prevalent through a lot
Mm.
of the other comedies that I've seen. Um, the tendency to see the world as either as a very serious place, and
Mm.
and you're interacting with it, or it's a very very silly place. Like you would have like I watched, like, these are probably old TV shows for you, but
Mm.
British television trickles over into mainstream America very slowly. I watched
Yeah.
this show that was called Are You Being Served? And I'm not sure if that's
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
yeah. So you have all of these, the one straight man, which is the
Mm.
it's kind of like the floor manager, and everyone else is being kind of these crazy over the top characters, but interacting with the public. So it's kind of what you're saying there. So it may be very much be a very British thing, because
Certainly, Rowan Atkinson's a really good example of it as well. Because I don't know if you like Blackadder at all, but I always think that's similar as
Mhm.
well. You ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you
Um,
must. If you like historical comedy, Blackadder is got to be on your list.
I'll put that on my list. Well, if I can get it, if I can find it somewhere over here, but certainly I'll
Yeah,
do
it
that.
should be on BritBox or Netflix or one of those.
I
So
I'll find it on Netflix. So, what do you think out of all of the scenes? Which one did you think was your favorite scene?
the constitutional peasants,
Oh, that's right. You said
yeah,
so.
yeah.
And
I just loved like the dialogue and just how ridiculous it is. And when the camera goes onto Michael Palin's face and he starts going off on one about I'm
mhm.
going to find the lines. I'm going to do the lines for people. John is
I,
bigging up my British accent here. So
yeah,
um,
it does have a lot to
Dennis,
say, it does have a lot to say, politically, um,
yes.
about the most, the feeling. Go ahead. You say the scene, and we'll discuss.
um, oh, King, eh? Very nice. And how do you get that, eh? By exploiting the workers. By hanging on to outdated imperialist dogma which perpetuates the economic and social differences in our society. If there's ever going to be any progress. And then let's skip through here. Let's do the Arthur dialogue, actually, because the Arthur dialogue to this scene is wonderful as well.
Go right ahead.
Well, how do you become king, then? The Lady of the Lake, her arm clad in the purest shimmering samite, held aloft Excalibur from the bosom of the water, signifying by divine providence that I, Arthur, was to carry Excalibur. That is why I am your king. uh,
Listen,
Chapman, man.
strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government. Supreme executive power derives from a mandate of the masses, not from some farcical aquatic ceremony.
That's the line that gets me every time. Every time I see that, I just explode.
Oh, and
his
it's like
face
that.
is like deadpan face as he says that.
So that's basically saying, F your divine right of kings. That's
Yeah,
stupid.
yeah. This film very, very anti-monarchy, very, very much a Republican message, with a small R, I should say, for the American audience. Um, very much a Republican message to this one, and very much a secular message to the Life of Brian, of course. So they do hit their issues, the Pythons, for sure. They're not afraid to be controversial whatsoever.
Hmm.
Help! Help! I'm being oppressed.
Oh,
Come and
let's
see the
see.
violence inherent in the system.
I think,
So, what
like,
is your favorite scene? What's the standout scene to you?
well, and to Dennis and his wife or whatever, we see a little glimpse of them later as they're muttering along, walking down the path. I think, and it was in Sir Robin's scene where he's just passing these peasants, and they're just talking about, there you go, talking about class again, you know. So it's kind of cool that they bring them back, and they just keep popping up in places. Um, I think it would have to be with Sorcerer Tim and the Beast of Caer Bannock. That is
Oh yeah.
probably my favorite scene, and I'm trying to find.
Do you know if that has a literary or historical basis? The Beast of Sir Bannock sounds too like on the nose Welsh to not be something real.
It it could possibly be, but the scene itself was. I saw a little thing where there's this in a in a manuscript. There's a scene of a knight who is running away from a rabbit,
Oh yes, you
and
sent me that. Yeah,
yeah. So there's that. And Caer Bannock does sound very Welsh, doesn't it? I mean, it
Mm.
means if Kelly,
Well, to
Kelly,
me, of course, it sounds Elvish, but but yeah, it does sound
or
Welsh.
yes, obviously it could have been. It could have been ripped right out of Tolkien's
Mm.
playbook there on his naming convention. So, but and then you have all this build up. You've got this, mighty sorcerer who's just over the top, just showing off showing off. He's shooting fire out of his wand, and he's got this over the top headgear with the horns and everything. And you're like, okay, so this guy is just this whatever. He's going to be Merlin. This is like our introduction to Merlin in this film. And he says, "What is your name?" And he's like, "Tim."
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? But then yes, and you've got this sort and please, I cannot keep the actor straight today. The actor that plays that is
That plays Tim is
yes,
John Cleese.
John Cleese. Yeah, he also plays all the knights. I mean, all the French knights, I think, as well.
Yeah, the main French one, and Sir Lancelot as well, of course.
Yep, yep. But yeah, and then they show up and they're looking, and they're peeking over, and they, like waiting for this horrible like troll thing to come out, and just little bunny, you know, and they're all looking at Tim like, "You lied to us, dude. What are you talking about? He's got mean and nasty teeth." Like that. That's like, I always like find that's like I die every time that scene comes on, and then they go for the rabbit, and the rabbit just takes them out like they're garbage.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we need to rethink this.
Yeah, so it's delightfully cheesy violence. I love it.
Oh yeah,
Interestingly, I saw. I've never seen it actually, but Spamalot, which is Eric Idle's musical adaptation of the Holy Grail. They recreated that scene for that, and that was the most difficult scene to do in that format for them. And well, that, and I think the Black Knight scene, which we'll talk about as well, which I love.
Yeah.
For those sort of like practical effects, they had Penn and Teller do those practical effects on stage, which is really cool.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah,
that is cool. So I'm sure it made it like a lot better. But you see this tiny little rabbit, and it's like just taking out this band of knights. So it's like really subverting your expectations there. So, and the holy hand grenade of Antioch.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's, now correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not British in the least, that orb that he pulls out of the out of the box or what have you, the reliquary, that's supposed to represent like the royal orb of something, that part of the regalia.
No idea. I've seen the like crown jewels, so I've probably seen it if it's a royal thing. But
yeah, it's like a royal. It's like this ball that's got a crucifix stuck on top of it, and that's the pull pin for the entire mechanism. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's just take our orb of royal authority, and we'll chuck it at you because you've been naughty, in the eyes of the Lord.
I've got a request here from Stephen to read from the Book of Armaments. So I need to.
Oh, okay, let's see. All right. Armaments chapter 23, verse 57 or something.
Yes, it's Armaments chapter 2, verses 9 to 21.
Go ahead, sir.
And Saint Attila raised the hand grenade up on high, saying, O Lord, bless this thy hand grenade, that with it thou mayest blow thine enemies to tiny bits in thy mercy. And the
In
Lord
thy
did grin,
mercy.
and the people did feast upon the lambs and sloths, and carp and anchovies and orangutans, and breakfast cereals and fruit bats and large.
Skip ahead, brother. Skip ahead a bit.
And the Lord spake, saying, First shalt thou take out the holy pin, then shalt thou count to 3, no more, no less. 3 shall be the number thou shalt count, and the number of the counting shall be 3. 4 shalt thou not count, nor either count thou 2, excepting that thou then proceed to 3. 5 is right. I can't do it.
5 is right out.
The Holy Hand Grenade, I first saw that scene pop up in video games that use that as inspiration. So it comes up in the original Fallout. So people may know Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas that have come out in the last decade or so, but the original Fallout had a parody of that, I think, or it might have been Fallout 2. And also Worms. Worms, of course, classically had the Holy Hand Grenade, which was an awesome weapon. It used to just go, hallelujah. So I remember that fondly as a kid as well.
Oh yeah, blowing things up with the power of smiting of the Lord. Yes, that's what you want in your video games.
Yeah, Micah is pointing out Worms as well. Yeah.
Yeah, he actually was the one who he told me that hallelujah kaboom. I'll put that up there. Yeah, he was the one that clued me in that was actually had been used in video games, and I'm like, that is fabulous. Oh, so
Jolie is informing us on exactly what that orb was.
All right, let's pull it up and see what we've got. Cross dominion over the orb of the world. Yep.
It's great how much reading they did and how much sort of research they put into some of the gags here, because
they did.
They pretty much started off, I think, in terms of the drafting process of this movie. They started off with the coconuts. That was like the whole kind of genesis of the whole idea of the movie, was that they had the coconut scene and they had the quest for the Holy Grail, where the Holy Grail, this was a scene that they'd written for the TV show,
right?
And the knights were looking for the Holy Grail in a department store in London. Originally, that was the idea, which they got rid of that idea but kept the Holy Grail and turned it into a whole plot and a whole movie.
That's amazing that it developed into something. Just that one little silly little bit part out of the whole thing just blossomed into something. I guess you just start seeing it in your mind, and if you're like of that, comedic, if you've got that talent, you can just say, well, how extreme can we take this silliness before it becomes to take it too far, where it's not even a movie anymore. It's just people running around in silly costumes. But the movie actually does carry through with a plot and a theme, and it doesn't seem, too over the top. It is, it's like you're watching a B movie from like the 70s, where, some college people threw it together, which is basically the shoestring that they made this movie on.
Yeah, you can tell that they had almost no budget.
Right, and you're wondering, okay, did their moms make them their costumes, or did they raid?
Yeah, their chainmail is just woolly jumpers and stuff. It's like budget cosplay sort of style.
Very much so. And it's like you were saying too about them breaking the fourth wall, because they're doing this, and then like all of a sudden you've got this British historian who just gets on the mic and starts narrating things for you, and I'm like, wait a second, what's the guy doing there? What's that guy doing there? Because they've already had a narrator, so they had like the omniscient narrator, and then they have like the guy who's writing in the book of the
The book of the film, yeah.
The book of the film, yeah. And then I was like, okay, well, here's this other guy. So we've got this other perspective, and it's like, okay, so are they doing so okay, they're doing a parody, and they're making a movie, but what is this thing? It's just this, professor. I'm just going to weigh in on what's going on because I'm a paid expert on the subject.
Yeah.
But it was Lancelot that came through and nicked him, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it was. That seems to be Lancelot's thing in the whole movie. It's like,
now you say that, I'm not sure, but I think so. Yeah, that was what I thought before you said it.
Yeah, I think it was.
That scene happens very quickly, doesn't it? Actually.
Right, because it's right after Arthur decides, oh, we got to split up because we're not getting anywhere with this. So
yeah, and you get the sort of separate anthology stories of the different Knights of the Round Table as well, don't you? Which is cool.
Right, and eventually, but like I said, Bedivere always sticks at Arthur's side. So that's the kind of like the buddy movie of the whole thing.
Mm.
And then like the also rans. We haven't talked about Sir Robin, I think, or Lancelot and their little side quest that they did. So I think we pretty much learn early on after the killing of the historian that Lancelot's going to be somewhat of a brutal, violent person.
Yeah. I just get carried away. You can't help it.
Which if you're thinking about Lancelot in the actual stories, he is very headstrong and emotional. He reacts to things. So but he's also supposed to be like the secondary hero or whatever, the most valiant, the most brave, this, that, or the other. And they kind of taking that and they're like, let's turn this bravery valiant up to 11 and turn him loose at a wedding. He's trying to he gets this message from what we would call the princess in the tower. This is a flip on the old trope of the princess in the tower, except this is a prince, a reluctant prince. He doesn't want to get married. His father has all these plans for him, and he's like, no, I really don't want to. He's like, shut up, you will be soon. You get married in minutes.
It quite cleverly parodies the kind of like the self-serving chivalry of these sorts of tales, saving the princess from the tower kind of tale.
Right, because he says, maybe if I do this brave act, that will lead me toward the Grail. I'm like, how does that happen? I'm doing the math in my head. I'm like, I don't think so, but go on. Tell me more. And he does. It's like the prince, ridiculous Ed has it there. He just wants to sing, so he's like constantly always about to break out into song, which of course his father wants no part of. So you're kind of like, so there's that subverting that masculine trope of he's disappointed in his son, but why? Because his son just wants to sing and be happy and not marry this girl that he's never met before. And I could see that flip the gender, and that's kind of like the plot of almost every Disney movie that we have. Mm-hmm. So that's and then you have Lancelot coming in being uber super over the top, violent.
Sorry, I'm just realizing there's little bits of coconut all over the place in this room. There's literally all over my keyboard and just everywhere because I've been practicing that all day.
The things we do for art, man, with the sacrifices that we make.
Because I didn't want to take the coconut out because it just makes a better noise like this. But
it's you practice the acoustics of the coconut all day, and you did well. You did well. And yeah, so you got Lancelot just crashing this wedding party, and he's like killing all these people, just laying about with the sword. He finally gets up to the tower. And then he like, oh, well, this wasn't what I bargained for. This wasn't what I was thinking. And the dad comes in and says, confronts him about doing all this violence and whatnot. And you can just kind of see once again, wheels are turning. Oh, I'm going to make this like a little bit more advantageous for myself. He gets rid of his son. And like, yeah. Oh, Lancelot, my boy. Oh, you're part of your Camelot. Well, let me introduce you to my almost daughter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if this is like medieval plot machinations or what have you, but this is like a soap opera to me.
It's almost something that you could see happening in Game of Thrones, actually, isn't it? Honestly, in a way.
It is like, I'm going to adopt this person, and I'm going to take, this girl is my ward, even though her father's not dead yet. Oh, yes, he is now. After nearly succumbing to his wounds and almost, making it through. It's kind of like a theme of killing off the, so many people get just killed off for like being annoying.
They do, but we were saying before we started, weren't we? Like, a lot of people get killed, but a lot of people get nearly killed as well. It seems to be like a thing where just a lot of people seem to just not quite die.
Like
the classic example being, obviously Stephen's just said it. They like the bring out the dead scene. Bring out your dead scene.
Bring out your dead. That's such, and I have used that. Oh my God, so many times. I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet. My husband, oh my God, he says that all the time, and he, because he's had some health conditions lately, and Amy's got it, and he would be on, or I'd be on, or whatever, and he would just shout out, "I'm not dead yet." So that's his answer to, when anyone asks him about how his health is or what have you, he'll quote that line.
And you reply, "Oh, don't be such a baby."
Oh, shut up! You will be soon. But yeah, I've used that tagline so many times. Like anytime I've been, ill or what have you, or talking to my friends or whatever. That's just
Well, with an injury as well, of course. The other one is the Black Knight scene.
Oh,
'tis but a scratch. That's John Cleese as well in the Black Knight armor. Except I found out in researching for this stream, there's one bit of that scene which is not him, which is the bit where he's got one leg and he's hopping.
Really?
That's a real one-legged man. That was a local actor that they found, because John Cleese was booked to do that whole scene, but he couldn't convincingly hop on one leg and act. So they found the real one-legged man, which is awesome.
That's a great story. There's so many of these little nuggets about how this film was made and all that. I mean, I would have never even considered that. I just saw, he's just hopping around on one. Like, no, it really is a one-legged man. They were going for historical accuracy here in this scene. They did well, but when they're down, he's just down to a torso. I just thought, oh my God, is this guy never gonna die? He's never gonna give up. So, and still, even as
I see, running away, eh?
Right,
yellow bastard. Come back here and take what's coming to you. I'll bite your legs off.
And then he's kind of like, oh shit. But that, you can kind of tell, that they're just kind of like, he's just under the surface, they just from the way being shown from the waist up there. But yeah.
Leslie, can you talk to yourself for like 5 seconds while I run to the kitchen and get a glass to have my wine? Because
absolutely.
I've got a bottle of wine right here and I've got no glass to drink it from, and I don't want to be a slob and drink it out of the bottle. So I'll be 1 second.
Okay, no problem. I'll entertain everybody. Well, I can start the mid-roll now, I guess. It's a little early, but I can go ahead and do that while while Dan's taking care of business in the other room. This is the point in the stream where, hi, oh, he's back. That
I
was
should have
quick.
taken my coconuts, but I didn't want to leave you
Oh,
on your own.
and he said, just drink from the bottle, man. Just act like just act like an animal. Just drink it right out of the bottle.
No, I have a reputation to maintain, I think.
Oh,
Maybe I do, maybe I don't. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
So I
cheers.
was going to go ahead and start. I was going to start the mid roll a little bit early. I didn't realize you were going to be back so quickly, but this is the point in the episode where I thank everybody for showing up. The chat is always lively and great. I appreciate everyone who's here week after week. We've got Wheezy Squeezebox, Kate Pertinsky, of course, my brothers from Here Be Dragons and John Webster Film, Amy Blackfire, Sir Micah Clark, and ridiculous Ed Tollett. Hi, Ed. Anna Iglesias is here. Jolie, of course, we mentioned her earlier. Lady Leaf Underhill. And if I missed it,
through the moon door, I think we missed.
through the moon door. Yeah, Yogi is here. Hi, Yogi. I hope you like the Euro friendly time.
I think that's about it, though. I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
But yeah,
so,
hi everybody.
Thanks everybody for coming. Got a few things coming up on the Unspun Yarn, and I will pull the document up quickly so I can be accurate. Okay. The next episode will be on the December 30th episode of Bleep the Patriarchy. That's a new series that I've started with good friend Amy Blackfire. We are going to be
the hype machine, the Twitter hype machine. I have heard of this because I've been seeing it on my Twitter timeline.
Yeah, if you log on to Twitter, you're going to probably have heard about this. It's going to be, the subject is transphobia and turfism. And I've got we have some lovely guests lined up. We have ITM, Ian Thomas Malone, and she's going to be on with us, as well as Lo the Lynx. So I think we're going to have a pretty lively discussion. These are some really great guests, and I'm looking forward to talking with them. Then we have lots of things lined up for after the first of the year. More Arthurian content. Dan, you've been busy.
I've been busier recently, yes.
Yeah, you dropped some content.
Slightly unbusy for the last couple of months, but in terms of content, but I'm getting back to it. As I was saying to you before I started, like my sort of day job took over for a little while, and I couldn't really work on my channel, which was really annoying because I was just starting to get to the point where I was really getting some momentum. But I'm making a comeback with Voice of Geekdom, and yes, I'm back. I'm back covering the Silmarillion again. I just released a chapter a few days back. Came out on Monday, so that was chapter 10. So do check that out if you haven't already done so. And I'm back making podcasts with Helen. So we shot an episode with her where we talked about Galadriel, which was really cool, quite funny. So if you haven't watched that already, do watch that too. But the big thing this week was Professor Corey Olsen, who is an author and a Tolkien scholar and a massive big deal in the Tolkien world. So it was a really, really big get for me. Super cool guy as well. He's really, really open and friendly. And yeah, we asked him for an hour and a half of his time, and we got 2.5 hours of his time in the end. So I've got loads of extra content. So I'm releasing it piecemeal this week. So I've just released a segment that we did with him on The Lord of the Rings Online, which came out this evening, or this afternoon for you guys in the States. And the whole interview will come out on Friday. So awesome. Really cool. He's got some interesting thoughts on the Amazon show as well, which people might be interested in. So I'm going to release that as a separate video too. But yeah, that's
Well, that sounds really good. And, I know you were saying you wanted to, get back into, doing a lot more content.
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, I mean, I really want to sort of, get that momentum back next year and turn it into something really, really, really cool. as I've said a couple of weeks ago on Jeweth, I recently passed 1,000 subs, which is kind of given me a bit more like, go and get them kind of energy. Where I feel like I want to do more and more now.
That's a really big milestone, man.
Yeah,
kudos
it is.
for that. It is. It's wonderful. I'm very, very excited for you.
Yeah,
Well,
I was on, like typically I was on 999 for like 3 days as well. I was come on. And then it went down to 998. It actually went down to 998, and then I just stopped looking. And then the next day I woke up and it was just it was there. So I was like, oh.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned like you wanted to get into, doing some more live streaming, maybe not on your channel, but getting out there.
Yeah. You should say as well, I'll be back on John Webster as well at the weekend, doing the Return of the King. For our 5-hour marathon of Return of the King, which I probably need some sort of like strong stimulant to stay awake for. But,
No, I'm quite sure that the conversation is riveting enough. So you guys are, when what I call the Tolkien gang, when the Tolkien gang gets together, it's like ridiculously exciting. So
our little corner of the Song of Ice and Fire fandom was blessed with lots of Tolkien kind of thinkers, which is really good, including yourself. Actually, I'd very much like to have you on Voice of Geekdom at some point, because I know you like Tolkien a lot too.
Oh yeah, anytime, man, anytime.
When I am doing streams, I will definitely call on you. Perfect. You and John.
Oh, why do you bring John? Don't need John. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Oh, and speaking of John, he wanted me to also plug our stream that we're going to be doing on the 14th of January, which is going to be all about Merlin and the archetype of the magician. So we're going to be talking about Merlin. We're going to be talking about Gandalf. We're going to be talking about Dumbledore. All of these literary wizards and that are so beloved, and how Merlin is kind of the OG for that. So tune in for that. It's likely to be a pretty decent stream, I think. And then Aaron's going to be coming on the 2 weeks after that. We're going to be discussing Morgan Le Fay. So a lot of heavy magic coming in January.
2 characters that are very much missing from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, actually.
Right. Well, like I said, I thought they were going to bring Merlin in with the wizard.
Tim is much better, I think.
I mean, arguably, yeah. He's very show not tell, where Merlin is more tell not show. He's more along for the advice without all the magical whiz bangs going off. But Tim is all about the show, man. He's all about the show. He's very flamboyant. I mean, who needs like a pointy wizard's hat when you've got curling horns headdress there? So Tim the Mighty. That's a good name for a wizard for D&D. Tim the Mighty.
This movie and D&D go really well together, actually.
It actually really does, because it's pretty much just like these guys that are just out LARPing around the British countryside, pretending that they're actually like, we're just going to run a D&D module today, and we're going to do the quest for the Holy Grail. Let's go have fun, And like you said, that with the costuming and everything being like very low budget cosplay and whatnot, it kind of fits. So you're left wondering, so were they making a movie of them going out and doing this LARPing, and then they got in trouble with the cops over this? They took it a bit too far.
Yeah, well, from watching the documentary, I don't think they had that much fun. It didn't sound like it was the best atmosphere on set.
Oh, I'm not. I'm sorry. Left Dad was shoving food at me, and I'm like, I'm not going to eat on camera today.
It's a pierogi.
I know it's a pierogi.
Well, if you want to tuck in, I've got some coconut here. So
grab a spoon, man. Just grab a spoon and dig in.
Love it.
Oh yeah, you got left dad's approval, so
That's not a horse.
it's not a horse.
That big horse together.
He knows all the lines too. He could quote them to you chapter and verse so much better than I can. So that's what we've got coming up in the future. So back to the movie. Let me find that screenplay. Okay, we talked about the Swamp Castle, Enchanter, and we haven't talked about they finally get to like the bridge of eternal peril, doom, or what have you. Where, you know, our characters have made it through, they've gone through, they've survived the black creature of Care Banach. They got directions to Castle Arr.
Yes. Oh, what's that line? I've forgotten that line. Yeah, where they talk about the castle.
Well, I mean, perhaps he was dictating. We're not sure.
Yeah.
The last words. It reads, "Here may be found the last words of Joseph of Arimathea. He who is valiant and pure of spirit may find the Holy Grail in the castle of Arr." What? The castle Arr.
What is that?
He must have died while carving it.
What do you think?
Good, thank you.
Do you want them stayed like that, or do you want yours fried? They're fine like that.
Yeah. So, babe, what was your favorite scene? While we've got you here, what was your favorite scene out of the entire?
The whole fucking thing.
Well, I mean, pick a scene. I've picked my scene, which was the killer rabbit, and of course Dan picked his scene, which was the militant peasants.
The Black Knight. Well, no. My favorite scene has to be from the words that they heard every day while I was in the hospital.
Oh yeah,
every day.
Not dead yet.
I'm not dead yet.
The nurses would come in, and I would look at them and say, "I'm not dead yet." You know. So, when my nurse called Anissa from the hospital to tell them that I was going to go to surgery, that I was back from surgery, they actually told her, "He said to tell you he's not dead yet."
So that's your favorite, huh?
Well, it's the one I use the most.
Yeah, it's probably one of the most quotable, like we were saying.
I thought you were going to say the oral sects.
Oral sects.
Because that would have been a nice thing to happen in hospital, but.
I mean, it's just a bunch of pussy jokes, from what I understand.
I love I've always loved that entire show. It bumps right. It starts right out there at the beginning with highlight after highlight after highlight. You know, the taunting of the French, or the taunting from the French. You know.
I wish I had an entire list of all the insults that the French hurl at Arthur throughout the movie, because they never actually use like a profanity, but they give him such a thorough dressing down every time that he's confronted with them, and they're so quick and so fast that Arthur's just like, what? You know, you have no comeback for wiper of other people's bottoms. You know what? How can you come back from that?
You don't frighten us, English pig dogs. Go and boil your bottom, sons of a silly person. I blow my nose at you, so-called Arthur King. You and all your silly English.
Yes. And the sad thing is that friends and I will actually, send these quotes back and forth to one another all the freaking time.
And once again, like they finally make it to the Grail Castle. You've had this flamboyant, triumphant musical score where they're floating off to the castle. They get there, and he's just giving thanks. Like we finally through all these perils, we finally made it. And hello. And you hear that voice that says, hello, dappy English kniggets and Monsieur King Arthur, who has the brain of a duck. We French fellows outwit you a second time. And Arthur's just like sputtering. And how you English say, one more time, Mac? Unclog my nose in your general direction, sons of a window dresser. Like, what is that? Sons of a window dresser? What kind of an insult is that?
Yeah, I know. What does that even mean?
I wave my private parts at your aunties, you cheese lot of second-hand electric donkey bottom biters. Donkey bottom biters?
Donkey bottom biters, yeah.
I mean, my God.
Ass eaters.
Yeah.
Yeah. English pig dogs.
I burst my pimples at you and call your door opening request a silly thing. You tiny brained wipers of other people's bottoms. I roll every time. This is the best string of insults possibly ever delivered on film, in my humble opinion, because once you've been a wiper of other people's bottomed by a French knight, I mean, where do you go from there?
I just want to say real quick, I am very impressed that you took the time to hollow out some coconuts. that impresses me.
Not only did he hollow out the coconuts, he made an entrance.
Yeah.
With the coconuts.
Yeah, did you miss that? I sort of galloped around my room as well.
He did. And it was a long trip and everything. Those coconuts were tired by the time he got here. It's a long trip for England.
I was saying earlier, there's little bits of coconut all over my bedroom, like literally.
Hey, there's some things we don't need to know about.
I posted the tutorial that I used to hollow out my coconut in the chat. Leaf and Wheezy Squeezebox were asking me, how did I manage to split it so perfectly? It's quite a funny tutorial that I found that it's worth watching. The British guy that kind of like hollows out a coconut and then does the whole galloping thing.
And yeah, so there actually are coconuts in Britain. It's a temperate climate.
The seeds
they're migratory, aren't they? Of course.
The seeds were swallowed by swallows.
They were brought over by swallows.
They're domesticated now. The domestic British coconut. Here.
They could have done ponies and used English walnuts.
Mm-hmm.
So what haven't we covered? Knights of Knee we haven't really covered.
So I figured we could save that one for last, though. Now we can go ahead and do Knee. Brave, Sir Robin. How to find a perfect shrubbery.
On the second from the top shelf. There's two little plastic totes.
Oh, that was not the one.
Incidentally, in my phone, Anissa is listed as me.
Yes, that's been my name in his phone for a while. So we have to
30 years, 20
probably
years, 20 years.
So knights with a repetitive tendency to repeatedly say knee repetitively. So basically, they're just going knee. For no. the fact that Bedivere gets it wrong is really, really funny. But he's trying. So, I mean, everybody gets it like, why can't he say knee? And little, I was telling Dan off camera before we came on, we were talking about the movie. There's this little thing that I found out that apparently there was what's known as the great vowel shift in the Middle English. So you go from Old English, Middle English to modern English, and it was a way of saying the vowels and how pronunciation changed to make the English language sound less French. So there was this big shift because before, the language of the aristocracy was more French since it was the Norman conquest. Language was heavily influenced by that. So in an effort to make it more English, they shifted around the way that a lot of the vowels were pronounced. So
it wasn't just the vowel; there were also the
but that was a big thing.
TH was brought in,
and that's why Bedivere was having there's like a little nod to, hey, this is why we can't pronounce some of these things correctly.
Yeah, I never got that before. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it was just, I mean, you find these little nuggets. People have, the more you dig into this movie,
Easter eggs all over it.
You find little nuggets of how far these guys really did their research, which for this you wouldn't really expect for, just a, such a low budget feature. But I think that was just their dedication to their craft.
It's who they are as well. I mean, they're all Oxbridge educated. So I think it's Chapman and Jones were from... No, Jones and Palin met at Oxford, and Chapman and Cleese met at Cambridge. So they all went to the best schools in Europe.
Right. And so they're highly educated, and that they bring that, they take such the time to put such a little embedded detail and just make it funny. That's just a mark of their brilliance as comedians.
Yeah, I mean, when they were writing the script for this, they read Tennyson, they read, Mallory, they read all the Arthurian stuff. They were well versed on it.
The word. What was the word that the knights absolutely couldn't stand? It was
it.
That was it.
Yeah. It. Yes.
I couldn't remember if it was it or in.
No, they're the knights and the knights of Ni. They are the seekers of the sacred words. There's 3 sacred words: Ni, Peng, and Ni Wam, which you never hear the other 2. So I'm like, okay.
And of course, Eki, patang.
Wing.
Ni Peng.
Ni Peng. Yeah.
Yes.
Ni Peng. So. And they said they're cinnamon.
I love Chapman's delivery of the follow up to that as well. Of the knights that until very recently said me.
So very recent, because he couldn't get the pronunciation. Yeah. He was trying, and it's like, so recently said me.
It's funny as well because during the filming of this, he was an alcoholic. So during the filming of this, there were scenes where he was forgetting his lines because he was having withdrawal symptoms and DTs and stuff. So, and actually the Bridge of Death scene as well, he couldn't do that scene because he was having DTs and he was like shaking and literally couldn't walk and remember his lines and everything else. So one of the producers had to actually walk across that bridge because he couldn't do it.
Right. So that's why you get the scene like when Arthur and Bedivere are going across, it's shot from low and you just
from low and you see the wide angle and the smoke. Yeah. So that's not him.
So that
he couldn't do that scene.
Yeah, so the voices were done separately, where he says, "How is it that you are so wise in the ways of swallows?" So it's like you have to know these things when you're a king.
When you're king.
These are the important things that a king must know. I mean, he's a man of science and learning.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. That's another favorite scene as well. When you talk about science as well, the witch scene.
The witch and the duck.
Yeah.
Our introduction to the bromance that will one day be Arthur Veer or Bedivere and Arthur.
Exactly, yeah, it's where he picks him up, isn't it?
Their fateful meeting.
Yeah.
And they just look at one another across that crowded commons, and they're just speaking to one another so eloquently. You can see the developing bromance from there.
Yeah. But it's funny because like the witch ducking thing, of course, was a real thing as well. Like that scene, actually, stuff like that happened. It's not that far away from real history.
Yeah, stuff like that happened here too.
Yeah,
we burned a few, and dunked a few, and drank.
Patriarchy.
Yeah, yay, patriarchy. But yeah, and the way that he goes about his trail of logic, it's like you can't argue with it. But I mean, he has it. Things.
This guy has a point.
Backed up in fact, it was what besides witches burns. Like, wood.
Their faces when they're all thinking about it as well.
I mean, you can tell they're really.
I can't stop watching John Cleese when I see that scene because he's.
I love the part where the guy said, "Well, she turned me into a newt, but it got better."
Yeah, I mean, you've got this woman who's brought up on these charges that, she's a witch. Their evidence is she looks like what? She looks like a witch. She looks like a witch. Like, you put the nose and the hat on her? But she's got a mole or something.
She's got a wart, yeah.
Which was a thing because they would search the bodies, of these alleged professed witches to find the mark of Satan on them, and it would always be something in the form of a wart or a misshapen mole, third nipple, who knows, some kind of odd body feature, and they would say, "Oh, well, that's
birthmark."
That's the mark of Satan, where you've been consorting with Satan." So. Yeah, she's like, they put these on me. This isn't me. I'm not a witch. But the train of logic from wood to if she weighs as much as a duck, she's a witch, is one of the most fanciful strains of logic I think I can remember.
Hey.
It's okay. It's science. It's very much logic and science. And Arthur, you can see as Bedivere is expounding and teaching and what have you, Arthur's just like, "Oh yeah, this guy, I like this guy." And then Arthur's like, "And what else floats upon water?" And Arthur's
bread,
like,
apples,
tiny rocks.
Tiny rocks, yeah.
3 tiny rocks.
A duck. And Bedivere is just smitten at that point. You can just tell, oh, a learned man.
And the acceptance of the accused when she weighed the same as the duck.
Yeah, it's a fair cop.
You know?
He's like, you got me. That's a fair cop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, that scene, but then when you watch it, you do think that used to happen. They used to put women in water and see whether or not they would float, and that was like their test of whether they were evil.
If they floated, they're a witch. If they sank, they were innocent. But they're also dead.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I mean,
so you're dead either way, except if you're dead and innocent,
you slightly get convenient, isn't it? Really?
If you're dead and innocent, you get buried in the churchyard. If you float and they burn you, then you're on unsanctified ground.
You're buried in a cemetery.
You're buried in a cemetery. Yeah, not on sanctified ground.
Remember, we done this research.
Yeah, the cemetery is not sanctified ground, just so people know, and that you have to be buried in a churchyard to be sanctified.
Okay.
There you go. odd little tidbit from useless knowledge that we share. But yes, that was things that would really happen. The plague scene, where we were talking earlier about everyone is being, the guys are coming around to pick up all the plague victims. This was a thing. And they would only come through the village or the city or whatever at certain days. And you are just supposed to live with the corpse until they come around for the next run. And it could be a few days, it could be 5 days. And the way, if you got a corpse in the house that's been, died of plague, it's not a very healthy environment for you. So the eagerness of the man to get rid of the body, even though he was nearly dead.
I'm not dead yet,
but he's not quite dead yet. You could hear tales of people that are thrown on the burial cart or what have you that were not. I mean, they were going to be dead. They just weren't quite dead yet.
There were periods in history where there were a lot of instances of people being actually buried alive because they were assumed they were dead.
Well, I mean,
that's where the word dead ringer came from.
Oh yeah, they would, but that was kind of like a Victorian thing.
Yeah, that wasn't just the Victorian period. There's several periods in history that happened.
Well, I hope the dead just stay buried. But yeah, that was fairly accurate with, the plague cart coming around and what have you, and the village squalor. Even though, there was the one woman who was repeatedly beating a rug with her cat, she had several scenes in the movie where she was doing that. And
does the chat have any more like scene readings for like requests for us? Because I want to read more dialogue.
Well,
I'm putting it out there.
You can read the bridge keeper scene if you like. We briefly touched on that, but we didn't go over it.
The bridge keeper scene, as in the Black Knight scene, or the
the old man and the bridge keeper, where they're
the end.
Yeah, the end.
Yeah, so
they finally get to the bridge of death.
Okay.
And look, there's the old man from scene 24. The fact that they're like, oh, there's that so and so from scene whatever.
What is he doing here?
But yeah, that's constantly breaking the fourth wall that you were talking about.
Yeah.
He is the keeper of the bridge of death. He asks each traveler 5 questions. 3 questions.
3 questions.
3 questions. 5 is right out, Arthur. Remember that. 3 questions may cross in safety. What if you get a question wrong? Then you are cast into the gorge of eternal peril. Robin is like, oh, I won't go.
Who's going to answer the question? Brave Sir Robin, you go. Hey, I've got a great idea. Why doesn't Lancelot go?
Yes, let me go, my liege. I will take him single-handed. I shall make a feint to the northeast and no. You have to answer the 5 questions. 3 questions. 3 questions as best you can, and we shall watch and pray. Go ahead. You want to be Lancelot?
Where did we get to? Sorry.
Bridge keeper, stop. Who would cross the bridge of death must answer me these questions 3. Ere the other side ye see.
Ask me the questions, bridge keeper. I am not afraid.
What is your name?
My name is Sir Lancelot of Camelot.
What is your quest?
To seek the Holy Grail.
What is your favorite color?
Blue.
You can pass.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. The really brilliant one is Arthur's one, where he obviously he has the knowledge of the swallows from the first scene in the movie.
Right, where that knowledge, that little tidbit just paid off there.
Yeah.
You know, how do you know so much about swallows? And that's just part of being a king. So. Yeah, Leaf made a comment about we said about breaking the fourth wall, and you're right, Leaf. They absolutely demolish it. There is no fourth wall to be found. So it's just at times they're just talking to one another. At times they're just telling us things as the audience. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a perception about this movie that that there was a lot of ad-libbing that was done, but that's not true. I mean, the Tim thing, the Tim thing. For a long time, people thought that Tim was just an ad-libbed thing, that John Cleese forgot his line. But it's not true. It's not true. It was always a rumor about this movie.
You would think it seems just like it's so zany at times, and that it very much could be. You know, in sketch comedy, you have a lot of ad-libbing. You know, at least in America, in sketch comedy, you have a lot of ad-libbing. Like our comedians here, like Tim Conway and Carol Burnett, those were sketch comedians, but they were on their shows, which were running probably concurrently with Monty Python, that type of variety comedy type show where they're doing various sketches.
See, those are names that I've heard, but I don't know who they are really. Like that's not really traveled over here. I don't think anyway.
Yeah, they're sketch comedies, and they're like a troupe of actors, very much in the Monty Python style, and they have these ridiculous setups. And they would do those things, but they never. I mean, they would do it. It was kind of like our version of what the Monty Python sketch comedies were.
Mel Brooks picked up the torch and carried it.
Yeah, Mel Brooks. Yeah,
Mel Brooks, I know, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, he did in his movies, like in the 80s and whatnot. Men in Tights is pretty much like the next level. Like, okay, they did King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. We'll pick up another story and kind of do it in the same manner and fashion. The whole tongue in cheek, the running gags that are going through the whole thing.
And then he done the most racist.
Well, yeah, he did. He did a lot of but yeah, Monty Python and has very much, I think, has very much in common with Robin Hood, Prince Men in Tights. Yeah, Prince of Thieves, but yeah, Men in Tights.
The history of the world.
Yeah, history, all those things. So yeah. That's kind of like the successors to these guys, but
they picked up the torch, because it had been dropped after Monty Python.
Yeah, Monty Python kind of fell apart when Chapman died.
Yeah, well, it's kind of hard to go on with, when the troupe is not there together, because the sum is so much more than the parts itself. I think
hard to stand on the stage with only one leg.
Yeah, hard to stand on stage with only one leg. But yeah, they each kind of went their separate ways and did other things, and we know them for other things, like A Fish Called Wanda. Yes, and but
Michael Palin is best known now for his like travel documentaries that he does on the BBC. I don't know if that's traveled over the Atlantic, but he's very well known for doing travel stuff. So he doesn't really do comedy anymore, but but he does some really cool programming on the BBC. Like he's really well known over here for that.
Well, it's his voice, his recognized voice.
Yeah, and he's written travel books and stuff as well.
So it's good that they found a life after Python, after everything happened. And once you have a death like that, it's like you can't really get the band back together again.
Not easily, no.
Not easily. The musical was great. That was we're lucky that we had that afterwards. But they caught lightning in a bottle. That's kind of like one of my favorite terms, I think.
Yep.
With something like these people, there was just a unique mix of wit and art and knowledge and it was just happenstance that that these performers, these people got together.
You're missing the most important talent. They were so talented.
Well, yes, they were talented,
super talented, and that brought out.
One thing we haven't talked about as well is Gilliam's animations as well, because obviously that was a big part of what made Python unique as well. The stop motion stuff.
Oh yeah, those that and it wasn't just, they didn't have them just in Holy Grail. I think they had the animation across the whole Flying Circus series. So just having those little animated shorts right in the middle of a movie, like, okay, well, we're just going to do this now. So
and I'm playing the John Webster role here of facts about movies, doing a proper movie review, but this movie had two directors as well. So it had him and it had Terry Jones as well. Mm-hmm. And they both had very different styles. So, and they were both novice directors in terms of directing movies as well. So there was kind of like an odd chemistry where they were kind of fighting each other, but it was actually really good for the movie. Gilliam being the guy who was very kind of focused on visuals and very kind of focused on doing things right visually and kind of shooting things in a particular way, whereas Jones was very much like kind of just wanted to get in and shoot things like handheld cam, and he was the one who was following John Cleese up the stairs when he was like slashing the sword and that kind of like
doing an action sequence.
But it
now who shot the scene where it seemed like the scene where Lancelot is just running and you just see him way off and he's just running and he doesn't seem like he's getting anywhere. He's just off in the distance.
Oh, that one, yeah.
That's like a weird piece of filming right there. They just like repeated.
They looped it.
They looped that over and over. And then it's like he's so far away, and then all of a sudden he's right on top of everybody. And
the guards are sort of looking in the distance, off like
what, and then you're dead.
Going up the stairway and slashing the torch.
Just slashing everything.
Yeah. I just get carried away.
Amy had a request for us to do the Black Knight scene. If you wanted to. It's scene 4. Arthur meets a brave knight and cuts his limbs off.
Okay.
That's kind of
let's start with Arthur, shall we?
Okay.
You fight with the strength of many men, Sir Knight. I am Arthur, King of the Britons. I seek the finest and the bravest knights in the land to join me in my court at Camelot. You have proved yourself worthy. Will you join me? You make me sad. So be it. Come, Patsy.
None shall pass.
What?
None shall pass.
I have no quarrel with you, good Sir Knight, but I must cross this bridge.
Then you shall die.
I command you, as King of the Britons, to stand aside.
I move for no man.
So be it. They fight.
Yeah.
I just chopped your arm off, Nessie.
Oh.
Now stand aside, worthy adversary.
'Tis but a scratch.
A scratch? Your arm's off.
No, it isn't.
Well, what's that then?
I've had worse.
You liar.
Come at me, you pansy.
More fighting. More fighting.
More violence. Huzzah! And he chops the Black Knight's right arm off.
Victory is mine. We thank thee, Lord, that in thy mercy.
Ha! Bong! Come on, then. Have at you.
What? Yeah, you are indeed brave, Sir Knight, but the fight is mine.
Oh, had enough, eh?
Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left.
Yes, I have.
Look!
It's just a flesh wound.
Look, stop that.
Oh my God. Chicken! Chicken!
Look, I'll have your leg.
Swap. Now, this is where the one-legged man scene comes in. So, bravos to the local actor who had one leg and got a day's worth of pay.
Exactly. And he'll remember that scene. He'll remember that day for the rest of his life as well. Assuming he's still with us.
Right, I'll do you for that.
You what?
Come here.
What are you going to do? Bleed on me?
I'm invincible.
You're a loony.
The Black Knight always triumphs. Head at you. Come on, then. What? All right. We'll call it a draw.
Come, Patsy.
Oh, I see. Running away, eh? You yellow bastard. Come back here and take what's coming to you. I'll bite your legs off. I hope you enjoyed that, Amy. But that's what it is. It's one great scene after another. We could sit here and quote back and forth the entire movie, and I don't think you'd have a bad scene in it. I just roll every scene, every vignette. There's always just something different.
The only gag that doesn't really work for me in this movie, being critical again for 1 second, is the titles. The joke with the titles, where where they've got like the Swedish or something at the bottom.
Oh yes, and the moose and the
right at the beginning. That I never find that funny. I never really got the humor there. Like, I'm sure some people find it funny, but I never really got that. Maybe it just didn't age well. But
the gorilla hand turning the page, that's a little falls a little flat too.
I never got that.
Yeah, the fun story. We recently did a watch party on Here Be Dragons Slack group of everybody. We decided to watch decided to do a rewatch of the film, and it was John Webster had actually not seen it before, so it was a real treat to to see a movie that John hadn't seen with him, and to have those little tables were kind of flipped. But it was like he got to the end of the movie and he was looking for where's the credits, and he was like, this is, and then he realized all those ridiculous credit scenes that were at the beginning of the movie.
The llamas and everything as well, yeah.
The llamas, and we sacked the people, and they sacked those people who did the sacking.
Yeah, I remember it fondly, but I've never really laughed out loud at the credits thing because it never really kind of made me laugh.
But it did kind of tell you right in the beginning that this was going to be very farcical.
Yeah.
You knew right away. It's like, and why are they rolling all these credits at the beginning with and the moose handlers, and what is it about a moose? I never got that. Or the llama. I never got the joke on that. And yeah. Well, do we have any questions from the chat? Amy really enjoyed that. Had any more questions or scene readings or what have you?
No, ladies,
Not,
I am
not much. John is pointing out that Michael Palin was in the Death of Stalin.
Yeah.
I fell asleep in that movie, but that's no stain on that movie because I did actually like what I saw of it. I was just really tired when I watched it.
I mean, there's no sins in falling asleep in a movie. I fell asleep watching J. Edgar in the theater.
No, I need to rewatch it actually because I really like Armando Iannucci who directed that. He's another great British comedic director. So I do need to rewatch that. But yeah.
Oh, Stephen has a question. So who is your? Well, that's not it. Who is your favorite character? Favorite character for me, I would have to say Bedivere. I really just like his vibe, his whole nerdy, scientific vibe that he has going through the whole thing.
The chick that needed to be spanked.
That's Zoot. Zoot needed to be spanked.
Yeah, Zoot. I'm all about it.
So, Dan, who was your favorite?
I think I've got to say Dennis because the constitutional peasant scene just makes me laugh every time so hard. I can't watch that without being hysterical. even thinking about Palin's face like now just makes me giggle.
And he does it in that very what accent, what regional dialect is it that he's delivering that scene in?
It's kind of Cockney, I guess. Kind of.
So definitely not from the aristocratic or the posh, not the posh accent that some people have or affect. Not like So it's pretty cool. Obviously, like a working class dialect or what have you. So yeah. And you say that's because Amy had a follow-up question of what scene that makes you actually let's see. What scene makes you laugh out loud every time, and what scene is
listen, strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no basis for a system of government. Supreme executive power derives from a mandate from the masses, not some farcical aquatic ceremony.
Right on, man. I could listen to that. I could listen to that scene several times. It was just funny. It is one of the best scenes and one of the most memorable scenes, I think, out of the entire movie. And what scene is funny but doesn't make you actually laugh? That's a good one. Because, well, you didn't like the opening credits, which another Leaf just reminded me that when we were watching the opening credits, John was trying to adjust his settings of the movie because he's like, this isn't quite right.
That's an effect that the Pythons never would have saw coming because they never would have, known that would be a technological advancement that would happen where John Webster would be playing with his TV trying to figure out what's going wrong.
Why is this not coming in right? Right. My favorite scene that's funny but not funny. Probably. I'd say it's probably the wedding scene. It's funny but not funny to me. Yeah. I get it. I understand. I get it, but it's just not. It's it's not my funny. It's funny, but it's not as funny to me as the rest of the movie. I get it. I enjoy a good slasher.
The way the movie ends with the cops breaking up everything and turning up and stopping the charge and arresting Arthur and everything is funny, but it kind of gives me an amused smile because it's like this is the perfect way to end this movie, isn't it? And they've set that whole thing up with the historian and that whole subplot, which it barely gets any screen time, but you're paying attention to that because it's going to come back. And the historian's wife, I think she plays it really well because it's very like straight-faced humor where she's kind of she looks genuinely distraught, like she's really acting
right
that role, you know, like she's not playing for humor, but the way that it's kind of it's a subplot that you know is going to come back, and then when it ends and the cops show up and arrest everybody, like that's the perfect way to end the movie, because it's again breaking the fourth wall.
Because you see Lancelot goes across the bridge, and it's not until later you see that he got arrested. You know, so Arthur and Bedivere are going on about their quests, and you kind of like, well, where did Lancelot go? What happened to him? Oh, by the way, he got picked up. Yeah, so once you see, you know, Arthur and Lancelot's getting arrested, like, okay, so there's something's gonna happen with this. Something's gonna come from this. So so you get this climactic ending, you're geared up for it, you've had all this heroic music, this build up to this like a Baden Hill 2.0 or whatever, this big fight scene, and then you just no, we're calling this farce off right now. No, reality is going to intervene. This is all a big haha. No, this isn't. Yeah, so huzzah. Everybody gets arrested, go home.
Yeah.
So it kind of subverts your expectations, but you kind of know something is going to be nagging about that through the whole film.
Yeah, it's so random when the historian shows up and it just says famous historian. And
it's just, he has no name. It's just famous historian.
It sets up. Let's talk about Life of Brian just for 1 second, because Life of Brian I actually slightly prefer. I think it's funnier. And it kind of slightly sets up things for that movie in a way, because do you remember in Life of Brian, right? There's the moment where they get abducted by aliens, right?
Yeah.
When I saw that for the first time, because I saw this one first. When I saw Life of Brian for the first time, I kept thinking that the aliens were going to show up again, but they never did. Like that thing just happened, and that was the end of it. It was just like, what the hell was that? You know. But it kind of sets it up in a way.
Yeah. Well, tell you what, why don't you come back on and we'll discuss Life of Brian one day.
One day, yeah. I mean, I think. Yeah, Life of Brian I do slightly prefer. Although I think the standout scenes in this one are probably better. But I think Life of Brian it's just got that extra budget that just brings it to the next level.
Yeah, they had a little bit more money to work with. Maybe we'll do that one around Easter.
Yeah. I love that this is like your Christmas movie.
It is. It's a holiday movie. I watch this every year around Christmas time. I don't know why. It was kind of a tradition that happened as I was a kid, and I've just carried it through every year. Oh, let's watch it. It's time. It's time for the annual watch. Not that I wouldn't watch it any other time, but it's kind of like a Christmas tradition. And it's it's a holiday. I mean, there's a shrubbery. I mean, you can decorate.
The shrubbery is one of my favorite lines. Actually, is when they come back and the Knights of Ni are now the Knights of Eki, Patang, etc. And they say, "Bring us back another shrubbery." And put it next to the previous one, but so we've kind of like a multi-level effect with a path through the middle. I love that line.
I know, it's very, very specific, and it's like, oh, this is like, is this something that have it in an English garden or what have you? I'm just very specific. I want a shrubbery, just more shrubbery, little water feature, what have you, and don't worry, the shrubber can take care of it. He's been a shrubber for a long time. He's very professional. But then you have to go and chop down the largest tree in the forest with a herring, which he just happens to have a herring. I'm like, you crazy dude. Stephen has a question, which I am unaware of.
No idea.
It's a British thing.
I do all that. I'm trying to find out. Don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
That's not like overt slang that is a distinctly British
thing.
No,
it's not. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not a British thing that I'm aware of at all. Yeah, no, I don't know.
Stephen, you can research that and let me know, and I will bring that on the next episode of Unspun Yarn.
If you've heard that, it's probably true. There are certainly lots of words for sex workers.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of see the potential of it's kind of standing by the, they're by the hedgerow or what have you. I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, there's lots of slang for sex workers, so I wouldn't be in the least bit surprised that they hid one in this film. There's so many other inside jokes that are just rife through the whole thing. So, okay. And Wheezy, of course. Well, true that. Wheezy always on for the good comeback. Michael wants to know, wants a definitive list of my holiday movies. if Monty Python,
I think I want to know the answer to that too. Actually, now.
I'll tell you what. I'll make a list and I'll post it on Twitter for everybody. Nessie's not so holiday movies. I do like occasionally, like we'll watch like a traditional Christmas movie. My traditional Christmas movies are all comedies. I like, for me, it's not Christmas until I watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Okay. Which is very much also kind of the Lampoons are kind of a successor of Python coming out of the academia and doing kind of a highbrow, lowbrow comedy at the same time. So yeah, Christmas Vacation, where Clark goes on his rant. Also, not really, it's quite a rant. We'll just put it that way. That's Christmas for me. That nothing says holidays like family getting together that you can't stand, and you're in confined spaces and you're spending way too much money and you're annoyed with everyone who's around you. Nothing says Christmas like that to me. So how about you, Dan? What's your favorite?
When I was a kid, I used to watch E.T. every year at Christmas. That was
also a good choice.
That was my kids' Christmas movie. Lord of the Rings, of course.
Of course, that's a December special.
I can't not give that a shout. But yeah, I'm not really a big Christmas movie guy. I mean, there's a Coen Brothers Christmas movie that I like, which is a genuine Christmas movie. I can't remember the name of it, but maybe John or someone else will tell us. But but that's quite good. But yeah, like actual Christmas movies, there's not really any that are any good, really. It's not.
That's not really.
There's like Christmas songs as well. They're like there's the Pogues and Kirsty MacColl. That's the one Christmas song that everybody likes, and the rest of them are all pretty awful.
I think mine would have to be the John Lennon. So This Is Christmas. That one. That's kind of a favorite. The Beatles. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we have said all about everything there is to say about this. I don't know. Is there a list of words that have never in history been used as slang for a sex worker? I guess it wouldn't be a long list. Oh, yes, you're right. There's so many terms for that. And Amy says it's not the holidays until she's watched Elf. Elf, yeah, it's comedy. Yes, it's comedy. It's a little over the top for me. I like Will Ferrell, but this is like Will Ferrell hopped up on crack and sugar, and he's needed a nap for a long time. So not my favorite, but I'll watch it. It's funny. Most movies are
I
prefer
don't think
comedies.
I've ever seen Elf. I just instinctively know I won't like it because I don't like Christmas movies or Will Ferrell. So
Well, it's worth a watch just to see Peter Dinklage in it as his little cameo appearance where he so
Muppet Christmas Carol. John saying Muppet Christmas Carol. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah.
Muppet's Christmas Carol, that's okay.
Is that actually a Christmas movie? I have seen that before when I was a teenager, but I don't
Love
really know.
Actually. I don't know. Bridget Jones to me is kind of a Christmas movie.
Bridget Jones, I like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
I don't remember Love Actually. I know I've seen it, but I don't remember what happens. Or
it's okay. It's okay. But like the traditional Christmas movies, Winter One, that kind of thing. No, not my thing. Santa Claus is coming to town. That kind of stuff. No. I mean, I like the old claymation stuff when I was a kid, of course, because I was a kid. But now I'm like, okay, I've seen that for like 40 years. I'm I'm old and cynical. I need some comedy and some eggnog to put me in the Christmas spirit. So, I guess I'm the older you get, the more Scroogey and cynical you get, and that comedy is just so necessary. For me, seeing have you seen National? Did you say you had seen National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation? Put it on your list.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll watch it if you watch Blackadder.
I will. Deal.
Blackadder is definitely right up your street. I'm sure you love Blackadder.
I will watch it. Absolutely. Deal.
I will fist bump that.
that is a deal. So yeah, there's this scene where it's just they have these cousins that are somewhat low class or what have you that are embarrassing to them, and they come and invade on Christmas they had this really raggedy like travel trailer that they're moving around the country in because they're homeless now, but they're out in front of they've got this hideous RV parked out in front of this really nice neighborhood. So the neighbors are all looking, and the neighbors are just kind of like turning their nose down at them, like, So, and Eddie's out front. That's the cousin out front Christmas morning, and just waving at the neighbors. He's got this little short bathrobe on. And he's like emptying out the septic of the camper down into the main sewers, and he's just telling the guys, yeah, shitter's full, just out there with the hose, yeah, shitter's full. To me that's Christmas. Yeah. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up for this installment. Thank you so much, Dan, for coming and talking about this little silly movie with me that is got a little bit more scratch to it than people give it credit for.
For sure.
Anytime. So we appreciate it. Go ahead and plug what you're doing in the next couple of weeks.
As I said, like big interview this week. It's coming out Friday.
I'm interested.
I'm releasing snippets. I released one earlier today about Lotro, which is Lord of the Rings Online. So if you're into gaming, watch that. Tomorrow there'll be a snippet from the interview, which will be on the Amazon Prime show, which comes out next year. The Second Age Lord of the Rings show.
I think everybody's looking forward to that.
Professor Olsen, I may as well say, Professor Olsen knows people who were involved in the making of that show. So John will know this. It's the big academic Tom Shippey, who was booked to work on the Amazon Prime show. That they know each other very well.
Awesome.
And he was kind of like he mysteriously left the production of the Lord of the Rings show. So when that news broke, the guy that I interviewed, he was the guy that leaked that news. So Professor Olsen, like, he knows what's up with this TV show. When we asked about it, I kind of hinted about that, because I knew that he was the guy who leaked that news, but I didn't kind of directly ask him, because obviously you don't do that. But I asked him about it, and he was talking about the licensing and stuff like that. So there's quite a lot of juicy information that we got out of him in a way. Although he's not an insider, he's not directly working on the show, but he does know stuff.
Yeah.
So there's some interesting speculation there on what we might see, and it'll be worth watching. And then the full interview will drop on Friday.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. I think that's going to be very enjoyable. So I think they Amy or somebody posted your link to that in the chat earlier. But subscribe to the man's channel. He's got great content. We love him. Love having you on. And hey, hang out in the Slack. We miss you, man. I know you've been busy with work, but
yeah, I have. Yeah, so between work and the trying to maintain doing the channel, I just haven't really got that much time. It's been a very strange year for me, because it's been strange for everybody. Obviously, we know that. But
it's been one of those, for the record books, this is probably going to go down as one of the strangest years in history. So
yeah. I was saying to Helen a couple of weeks ago, I haven't actually had an internet friend since I was a teenager, but being trapped at home for months, it's just changed how I live a lot. And I'm grateful for my internet friends. I've met some wonderful and very interesting people.
My internet friends have kept me sane over this last year, and a lot of them are in this chat. You guys know who you are. We're a very tight group. So yes, and if you are interested in becoming a part of the Here Be Dragons Slack group, all you have to do is send us a message at our email. Email us at we3dragons@gmail.com, and we'll send you a link. And you can come hang out. We have
is Wheezy in the Slack? Let's get Wheezy in the Slack. Because she's a legend in the community. Like, everybody knows Wheezy.
She is, absolutely. Wheezy, if you haven't been invited into the Slack, I'm sending you a personal invitation. We'd love to have you.
I have her on Instagram, so I'm going to get her in the Slack. I'm going to make her join the Slack.
Yeah, we're going to drag you in kicking and screaming and wheezing all the way. We do a lot of fun stuff. We have watch parties. We have
she always knows what time zone it is 4:20 in, doesn't she? I mean,
absolutely.
We've
got a whole channel just for that. So you'll fit right in. We've got a few things coming up for me this week. Tomorrow, tune in on Monaro Geek TV's channel at 3:00 Eastern. Amy and I are going to be coming back on for part 2 of The Blood of Zeus. So we've got that coming up. And just in case anybody was wondering,
did you say Zeus?
Yeah.
Zeus, that hoe.
Yeah. In case there was any doubt.
That's another synonym for sex workers, really, isn't it? Zeus.
Zeus. And this Sunday it's like Christmas has come early for those of us at HBD. We had 3 episodes of The Expanse drop last night. We all lost our minds, and we stayed up way too late watching these 3 wonderful episodes. I can't wait to get started. So on this Sunday, we're going to be discussing those 3 episodes on Here Be Dragons. And let's see. The 30th, Transphobia and Turfism. That's going to be Bleep the Patriarchy, episode 2. 14th January, John Webster Film is going to come on my channel. We're going to be discussing Merlin. And on the 27th, Erin M., big friend of the channel. She's like, this chick is super smart. You've seen her on J Wolf talking Tolkien. She's been on my channel discussing the Arthurian legends. She's going to be back. and we're going to be discussing Morgan Le Fay.
Mm-hmm.
Big busy month coming up. So, from myself, the Here Be Dragons family, to all of you, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whatever it is, season's greetings, and all the things. We love you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.